What up, gamers? I'm Aaron, and no matter who you talk to, everybody's worried about falling behind in Midnight. Because when you're behind in WoW, you're getting declined from groups by players who can barely even tie their own shoes. And that's because, at the start of a season, the community is basically just a million little sperm, racing towards the egg. Except, in this scenario, the egg represents cutting edge, or 3k IO, or whatever else those little guys do. I never got the talk, but today you and I are having the talk. The get ahead talk. But firstly, what does it mean to be behind? Well, behind is obviously a pretty relative term, but at the start of a season, the community is incredibly condensed. Players who can normally farm 20s are currently farming 10s for loot, and because there's no mythic raid, Race to World First and Race to World Last are currently progging the exact same bosses. So, if you show up to plus 10 keys week 1, you are going to have a buttery smooth experience. But if you start the season 3 weeks late, with 0 IO and 230 item level, you're going to have a terrible time, because the community has already stratified, and nobody wants to play with you. By the time you get to 10s, you're going to be stuck with all the other dweebs who took an entire month to get to 10s. So to be clear, the idea of getting ahead involves catching this wave as best you can and riding it as far out to success as you can before the waters eventually get too deep for you. And in Raid, it's a little different, because most Raiders play with a consistent group, so it's a lot harder to get behind, but if you're pugging, then you are obviously very familiar with Raid groups with absurd requirements, like you must have AOTC 2 hours after the patch launch. Unfortunately, the longer the season goes, those requirements are going to get more absurd. Not only will you need AOTC, but you will need to outgear the raid by 30 item levels. So trying to hit these milestones early is the biggest thing you can do for your success. Now let's talk about you. Are you behind already? Well, if you're max level, probably not, because right now is Heroic Week. And while that does mean that the season has theoretically started, it doesn't really start until Mythic and Mythic Plus open up. Even if you were 10 miles behind right now, that could flip on its head next week when Mythic Plus comes out and you can grind all the gear in the universe. So that means that our biggest goal right now is to make ourselves as attractive as possible to any potential group leaders next week. So where do we want to be for that? Well, because the season has technically already started, Mythic Zero has been available every day, and it doesn't take that many runs to get an item in every slot. So realistically, most players who have cared at all about gearing are within striking distance of 250. And if you're not there, don't sweat it, because we're gonna get you there, we're just gonna have to break open the Crest wallet. And that might sound a little intimidating because you don't want to waste anything, but don't worry, because with the way Crest caps have worked out, then really Adventurer, Veteran, and even Champion Crests are about as valuable as one-ply toilet paper. So you can really spend every one of those as aggressively as you'd like. And if you haven't gotten to do any raid bosses for higher eye level pieces this week, don't sweat it. Because again, when Mythic Plus comes out, you can grind hero track in every slot, which makes pretty much 90% of non-mythic raid gear useless. Really, the biggest issue is that you're not going to be getting any tier. But tier sets are a lot weaker this season than you're probably used to. And if you don't get one, don't sweat it, because your old buddy Aaron has no tier either. Except in my case, it's because one of the officers of my new guild forgot to put me on the loot spreadsheet. I'm on to you. So with Mythic Plus release, it's a safe bet that the average item level for players who care is going to rise up to at least the low 260s. And every week, as you get more volts and more crests to spend, that is going to continue going up by about 2 or 3 each week. But as it starts going up, we are going to start caring about it less. Because the further you push in Mythic Plus, the less your eye level is going to matter, and the more your dungeon score is going to matter. Most experienced group leaders would much rather have a player who is 100 IO higher than someone who is a couple eye levels higher. So the biggest lesson you can take from that is that you really want to push your advantage while you are ahead. Because if you can't grind as hard as somebody else, or you can't mythic raid for gear the same way someone else can, you're going to want to take advantage of this time where they are held back as close to you as possible. But I already know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Aaron, what if I get behind? What if my tendies are way too hot, and I burn my tongue and can't keep up with the gaming required to stay ahead? Well, in that case, you're fucked. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's okay to get behind, but once you are behind, you are going to continue to get more behind until you do something about it. So it's time to get proactive, and there's two major ways we can do that. The first way is by running your own key, the least favorite solution of all WoW Redditors, and for good reason. You see, running your own key comes with one major advantage, and that's that you have a 100% guaranteed invite. But it also comes with an equally large disadvantage, and that's that you are the one left holding the bag if the key becomes shit. Back in the day, if you watched your key turn into Tyrannical King's Rest, you might as well just fucking log out, because you are never filling that group. But luckily, we don't really get anything that shitty nowadays, except maybe Stonebolt. And the one other problem is that when a key goes down in level, the quality of applicants goes down even further. You know, you might list a high key and just randomly get the entire mandatory MDI team signing up to play with you. But if something somehow goes wrong and you guys deplete the key, well then your next teammates are going to be Pinhead Larry and the 3 worst players you've ever seen. This can really quickly spiral if you deplete multiple times in a row, and eventually you'll find yourself playing with 4 single-cell organisms just to get your key back to where you started the day. So I will stand by running your own key as a viable way to catch up or get where you want to go, but it is going to be a very time-consuming process, and will probably require a lot more total dungeon runs than if you were able to get invites naturally. But if you want to go down this route, check out this video to learn how to make better comps. But there is also another way to catch up, and that is going to be the social engineering route. It's important to remember, you could be the absolute worst player of all time, the biggest loser in all of Azeroth, and if you can somehow convince 4 players to log on at the same time, then the 5 of you are 2, 3, even 500 IO stronger together than any one of you individually. You could be 10 miles behind, but if you get 3 good play sessions with a group that enjoys each other's company, cares about winning, and plays the video game, you could springboard to miles ahead. And I know what you're thinking. I don't have any friends. Don't worry, I'm sure you've got some guildies who would love to play. And if you think, my guild sucks at M+, think about if they're really that much worse than the players you're finding in pugs. I mean, at least you can talk to them in voice, right? But let's be real, you're not going to have too many issues when it comes to getting behind. Because you've got me, and I'm going to give you everything you need to kick ass this season. But the good news is that my dumbass reads every single comment. So if you find yourself in some inescapable dark hole with no way to catch up, then just leave a question. I'll help you dig yourself out. But until then, I'm Aaron, and thanks so much for your time. Peace. Oh yeah, and also join my community Discord, where we'll talk about cool gamer shit and do cool sexy gamer shit together. Also follow me on Twitch.